Hola.
My dad took in my ex-wife after she cheated on me, then asked me to pay her rent. That was the sentence I never thought I'd say out loud. Not to a friend, not even to myself. But there it was, echoing in my head like a bad joke without a punchline. It started 4 months after the divorce papers were finalized. Her name's Melissa. She was my wife for 6 years, my partner for 8. We met in college. Fell fast. Got married faster. She was the type who could make you feel like you were the only person in the world that mattered. And maybe, for a while, I was. But all that started unraveling about a year ago. Late nights at work. New perfume I hadn't bought. Smiles that didn't reach her eyes. You know the signs. But when I finally confronted her, she didn't cry. She didn't beg. She didn't even deny it. She just said, "I didn't want to hurt you." That was Melissa in a nutshell. Sweet on the surface, rotten underneath. A master of soft betrayal. I moved out. Left her the apartment, the furniture, even the damn Keurig machine I bought her for Christmas. I didn't want anything that reminded me of the ghost I'd been loving for the last 2 years. I moved into a shoebox of an apartment in Midtown. It smelled like wet paint and broken dreams, but it was mine. Quiet. Solitary. Honest. 3 weeks in, my dad calls. My dad's name is Hank. Retired Marine. The kind of guy who calls emotions a distraction and believes every real man owns a drill, a dog, and a Ford. He never liked Melissa. Said she had a slippery smile. So when he asked to grab lunch, I figured it was just a delayed post-divorce pep talk. Maybe even an awkward attempt to bond over beers and barbecue. What I didn't expect was for him to open with. I let Melissa move into the guest house. I nearly choked on my brisket. You what? He took a slow sip of sweet tea like we were discussing the weather. She needed a place. Said the lease was up. No job yet. I wasn't going to let her sleep in her car. She has friends, Dad. He shrugged. Not my business. She showed up crying. You weren't answering her calls. Because I blocked her. Because she cheated on me. He set down his glass. I know what she did. I'm not defending it. But she's still family. That word hit me like a slap. No, Dad. She was family. You don't get to redefine that, because she knows how to fake a few tears. He looked at me like I was being unreasonable. Like I was the one flipping tables and burning bridges. It's temporary. She said just a month or two until she figures things out. I didn't finish my lunch. I walked out. Left him at the table with his pork ribs and misplaced loyalty. For weeks, I tried to ignore it. I told myself she wouldn't last. That she'd move on, find some guy with a condo and a trust fund. But she didn't. She stayed. And then came the text. From my dad. Hey, bud. Melissa's behind on her phone bill. Think you can help out? She said she's been applying for jobs. Just until she gets back on her feet. That was the moment something broke. Not because he asked, but because he expected me to say yes. I stared at that message for 5 minutes before replying. Tell her to ask the guy she cheated with. Or better yet, tell her to sell the lies she told me for 6 years. Might be worth something. He didn't respond. Not right away. But the silence said everything. And I knew right then, this wasn't just about Melissa anymore. It was about the way people rewrite history when it's convenient. The way betrayal wears a different face depending on who tells the story. I thought the divorce was the end. Turns out, it was just the first act. The first time I saw Melissa again, she was watering my dad's rose bushes like she belonged there. I was dropping off a replacement battery for Hank's drill. Just one of those quick drop-in, drop-out errands. He was out back fixing the gate. I figured I'd leave the box in the garage and bolt before any ghost showed up. But there she was. Denim shorts. Bare feet. One of Dad's old Marine Corps shirts knotted at the waist. Like this was some kind of wholesome suburban fantasy and not a soap opera waiting to explode. She didn't see me at first. I stood frozen by the garage door, watching her hum to herself like she hadn't detonated my life 6 months ago. Then she looked up. Her eyes widened. Just a flicker, then softened. Hey, she said. Soft. Casual. Like we were old friends bumping into each other at a farmer's market. You're still here, I said flatly. She gave a half shrug, brushing a curl behind her ear. Guess your dad's a better landlord than I thought. I didn't laugh. She looked me over, eyes lingering like she was trying to read me. You look good, Kyle. Healthier. Divorce does wonders. A flicker of something crossed her face. Guilt? Amusement? I couldn't tell anymore. I heard you got promoted, she said. Yeah, manager now. You always had it in you. I stared at her. at the way she still managed to sound supportive while making me feel like a character in her redemption arc. Cut the small talk, Melissa. Why are you still here? She sighed and set the watering can down. I'm trying, okay? Things got messy. I made mistakes. But your dad's been kind. He doesn't treat me like a monster. He didn't marry you. Neither did you, technically. Not anymore. That landed like a slap. She said it like it was a punchline, like she still had a claim on the last word. You know what's wild? I said. You burned down our life, and somehow you still ended up with the house and the sympathy. She looked down, quiet, then said, I didn't ask him for help. He offered. Of course he did, I muttered. He always did love a damsel in distress. I'm not proud of what happened, but I'm not evil. You're not a victim either. We stood there for a moment, two ghosts in the daylight. Then she said something I didn't expect. I think he misses you. I blinked. You're staying in my dad's guest house and now you're playing therapist? No, I just think he doesn't know how to fix things. Between you two. I swallowed hard, anger bubbling beneath the calm. He doesn't get to ask me for rent money for his charity case and then act confused when I stop picking up the phone. She opened her mouth, then shut it. Good call. Tell him the battery's in the garage. I turned and walked away, each step feeling like I was dragging a weight behind me. Because the worst part wasn't seeing her again. It was how normal it almost felt. The first time I heard them laughing together, something in me cracked. I was back at my dad's house again. He'd ordered a part for his lawnmower and asked if I could swing by to install it. Old habits die hard, I guess. Even after all the silent treatments and the awkward text threads that led nowhere, I still showed up. Because that's who I was raised to be. I parked in the driveway, windows down, the late summer air thick with humidity and the faint scent of cut grass. That's when I heard it. Through the open window of the guest house. Laughter. Hers. His. For a second, I couldn't move. Just sat there behind the wheel, keys in hand, trying to convince myself it wasn't what it sounded like. But it was. My dad and Melissa, laughing like old friends. Like nothing had happened. Like she hadn't gutted his son and walked away whistling. It wasn't loud. Just soft chuckles, muffled voices, the clink of glasses or dishes. Normal. Domestic. Intimate. And I hated that it felt familiar. When I finally walked to the back, I half expected them to shut up the moment they saw me. But they didn't. Melissa waved from the porch like she was hosting a goddamn garden party. Kyle, there's lemonade in the fridge if you want some. My dad looked up, wiping his hands on a rag. You got the blade? I held up the box. Cool. We were just talking about your high school baseball days. He chuckled. Melissa smiled like she belonged in the memory. Remember that game where you took a line drive to the chest, but still tagged the guy at home? I nodded slowly. Yeah. Broke a rib. You drove me to urgent care. Melissa blinked. Wait, that was you? I thought it was one of your teammates. Dad glanced at her, then back at me. I saw it then. The shift. That little tell he always had when he realized he'd just stepped in it. It was me, I said flatly. Melissa gave a light laugh. Well, that explains a lot. What does that mean? She hesitated. Nothing. Just, you were always the stubborn type. I looked at my dad. He looked away. You got a minute to talk? I asked him. He nodded, followed me around the side of the house. The second we were out of earshot, I turned. What the hell is going on? He frowned. What do you mean? You and her. This friendship. The laughing. The reminiscing like she didn't blow this family to pieces. She needed help. I gave it. That's all. Don't lie to me, Dad. He sighed. It's not what you think. Then what is it? Because from where I'm standing, it looks a hell of a lot like you replaced your son with his ex-wife. That's not fair. No, what's not fair is you asking me to help her pay bills while you play house with her in the backyard. He looked genuinely hurt. I didn't mean for it to be like this. You didn't stop it either. There was a long silence. Then, quietly, he said, she reminds me of your mom. And there it was. The unspoken truth. The ghost of my mother. Dead 10 years now. And somehow still shaping the lives we were trying to rebuild. That's not an excuse, I said. No, it's not. But maybe it's a reason. I stepped back, shook my head. You want to help her? Fine. You want to rewrite history? Go ahead. But don't expect me to watch it happen. Kyle. No. I came here to fix your lawnmower, not relive every mistake I made loving that woman. He didn't follow me when I left. Didn't call. Didn't text. But Melissa did. That night, around 10 p.m., my phone buzzed. A simple message. He's hurting too, just so you know. I stared at it for a long time, then turned my phone off. Because the truth is, I didn't care who was hurting anymore. I was done being the one bleeding in silence while everyone else asked for grace. The next time he called, it wasn't about Melissa. It was about the will. Nothing urgent, Hank said over the phone. Just want to go over some paperwork. Lawyer stuff. I almost didn't go. I almost let it sit. But something about the way his voice dragged at the end, like he was trying not to sound old, got to me. So I showed up. His house looked the same. Same hanging flag out front. Same tools on the porch that hadn't been moved in weeks. But the tension was different now. Like the air itself had decided to brace for impact. Melissa wasn't there. That was the first relief. He had the folder waiting on the table. Thick, yellowed, filled with enough lawyer speak to make anyone's head spin. I just want you to understand where everything goes. When the time comes. I flipped through the pages. A lot of it was standard. Some property stuff. An old life insurance policy. A few personal letters sealed with wax like we were in a damn movie. And then I saw it. Her name. Melissa. I paused. Why is she in this? He looked down at his hands. Rough, calloused, fidgeting with a ballpoint pen. She's been helping around here. Cleaning. Cooking. I gave her a small clause. Not much. Just the car. The car. His Mustang. The 1968 he rebuilt with me the summer before my mom died. You gave her mom's car? It's just a car, Kyle. No, it's not. You and I spent 3 months under a tarp in the driveway rebuilding that thing. She never even liked it. He opened his mouth to speak, but I cut him off. Don't you see what she's doing? She's not doing anything. She's nesting, infiltrating, rebranding herself as the daughter you never had. His jaw tightened. Don't talk like that. Why? Because it's true? Because it makes you uncomfortable to admit you're letting the woman who blew up my life crawl into my inheritance? I'm not replacing you. Could have fooled me. I pushed the folder away and stood. You want to leave her the Mustang? Fine. But don't expect me to pretend it doesn't mean something. He didn't stop me when I walked out. Didn't try. Didn't say a word. That night, I drove 2 hours north. Just got in the car and left. No destination. No map. Just asphalt and aching. I ended up in a bar off the highway. Cheap lights. Stale beer. A jukebox playing Springsteen like it meant something. Some old guy next to me kept talking about his daughter. Said she was moving to California. Getting married to a guy who wore flip-flops in the snow. I raised her better than that, he said with a laugh, and I nodded like I understood. But I didn't. Because I didn't even know how to be a son anymore. And I damn sure didn't know how to forgive a father who forgot how to be one. I stayed there until the bartender cut me off. Then I booked a motel room that smelled like mildew and regret. And for the first time since the divorce, I cried. Not just the silent, bitter tears I let fall in private. I sobbed. Ugly, loud, gut-wrenching sobs. Because no one tells you what it's like when the people who raised you start choosing the ones who broke you. And I didn't know what hurt more. Losing Melissa, or watching my father hand her the keys to everything we built together and calling it mercy. I didn't talk to him for 3 weeks. Not because I wanted to punish him, but because I didn't know how to be in the same room as the man who gave away our memories like they were spare furniture. The silence should have felt good. It didn't. I'd check my phone every night, waiting for something, an apology, an explanation, even one of his classic, "You done being dramatic?" texts. But nothing came. Then one morning, I got a call from our neighbor, Mrs. Jensen. She said, "Kyle, your dad's in the hospital." Time stopped. She told me he collapsed in the yard. Heart issue. Not a full-blown attack, but bad enough they kept him overnight. I was in my car before she finished the sentence. I don't remember the drive. Just flashes, red lights, wipers, white lane lines blurring past me like I was racing time itself. When I got there, he was awake, hooked to wires, pale, shrinking inside a hospital gown. Melissa was there. Of course she was. She was sitting next to him, holding his hand like she had a right to be there. The second I walked in, she stood. "I'll give you 2 a minute," she said softly. She brushed past me. I didn't look at her. He smiled faintly. Told them I was fine. They didn't listen. I wanted to be angry. I wanted to unload everything I'd bottled up. But looking at him, I saw something different. Fear. Not of death. Of being left alone. And that gutted me. "You scared the hell out of me," I said. He nodded slowly. Didn't mean to. There was silence. Then, After a long pause, he said, "You were right." I raised an eyebrow. He didn't look at me, just stared out the window. About the car. About Melissa. About all of it. I sat down beside him. "You left her in the will." He nodded. "I changed it this morning." "You did?" "Had the lawyer fax me the forms. Took her name off. Put the Mustang back in your name." I swallowed hard. "Why?" He looked at me then. Really looked at me. "Because I forgot something important. That car wasn't just metal and rubber. It was us. It was your hands learning to grip a wrench. Your mom bringing us lemonade while we argued over carburetors. I let someone else put her fingerprints on that. And I'm sorry." I didn't know what to say, so I just nodded. He reached for my hand. Weak grip, but steady. "I was angry at myself," he said, "for not seeing the signs with her. For not protecting you. So I convinced myself helping her was redemption. But it wasn't. It was cowardice." I felt my throat tighten. "You didn't know her anything," I whispered. "No," he said, "but I owed you everything." A nurse knocked, came in to check his four. I stood to leave. "Hey," he called as I reached the door. "Yeah." He smiled. "You still got that toolbox?" "Of course. When I get out of here, let's finish rebuilding the Mustang. She's been sitting too long." I nodded, and for the first time in months, I felt something thaw between us. Not forgiveness, maybe, but the beginning of something that could survive it. When I walked past the waiting room, Melissa was gone. No note. No goodbye. And strangely, that felt right. Because for the first time since she walked out of our marriage, I didn't feel like the one left behind. We started working on the Mustang the day after he got discharged. The old tarp peeled back like a second skin, revealing a body worn but not broken. Kind of like him. Kind of like us. He handed me the socket wrench without a word. I took it. For hours, we worked in silence. Just the sound of metal, gravel under boots, the occasional grunt. It was the most honest conversation we'd had in months. Midway through swapping the distributor cap, he said, "She came by yesterday, while I was still under observation." I didn't look up. "Melissa?" "Yeah." "What did she want?" He exhaled. "Closure, I guess." I tightened a bolt. "Did you give it to her?" "She tried to say goodbye. I didn't stop her." That said more than anything else could. We took a break after sunset. Sat on overturned milk crates, sipping cold beers. The engine sat in front of us like a patient mid-surgery. "I used to think fixing things was about control," he said. "If I could rebuild a carburetor, maybe I could rebuild a family." I chuckled. "How's that working out for you?" He smiled, slow and tired. "Ask me when she purrs again." The Mustang, he meant. But maybe not just that. 2 weeks passed. We fell into a rhythm. I'd stop by after work. We'd wrench and curse, and eventually, we started talking. Really talking. About mom. About grief. About how both of us had spent years pretending we were okay. And then one night, out of nowhere, he said, "Do you ever wonder what would have happened if you'd stayed with her?" I didn't answer right away. The truth was, I had. A lot. Imagine some alternate version of my life where I never found out. Where we bought a house, had kids, built something fake but safe. "I think I'd be a stranger to myself," I said. He nodded slowly. "I'm proud of you," he said. That hit harder than anything else. We'd waited years to say it. And he chose now, beneath a hood held up by rusted struts, to finally mean it. A few days later, we fired up the Mustang. She coughed, then roared. I looked at him. He looked at me. We didn't cheer. We didn't high-five. We just sat there, listening to the rumble. It was the sound of something coming back to life. Not just the car. Us. And for the first time since Melissa tore it all down, I believed in what we could rebuild. Together. It's strange how healing doesn't come with trumpets. No applause. No final credits. Just small things that stop hurting. 3 months passed. Melissa didn't come back. Not to the guest house. Not to the hospital. Not even to the porch to drop off some heartfelt letter tied with a ribbon. And that was a gift. Dad and I drove the Mustang down the coast one Sunday. Top down. Spring wind cutting through the silence. He played Credence on the old Bluetooth speaker he hated but kept using. At one point, he said, "You know, I almost married someone else before your mom." I looked over. Yeah. Yep. Right out of the core. Met her at a bar. She had this laugh like broken glass. Dated for 6 months. Asked her to move in. What happened? She said no. That's it. He nodded. She said I didn't know who I was without a uniform. I waited. Then he added, she was right. The Mustang rumbled under us like it agreed. We stopped at a diner halfway to nowhere. Eggs. Coffee. The kind of place that smelled like melted butter and secrets. He pointed at a photo on the wall near the bathroom. That's me. And your mom. Right there. I stood and looked closer. It was grainy, faded. But yeah, it was them. Younger. Wild-eyed. Her smile could have lit up that entire sad little dining room. She used to make me swear we'd never become one of those couples who lived in silence, he said. Did you? He stared into his coffee. I think I did. After she died. Not just with you. With everyone. I sat down beside him. You're doing better now. Only 'cause you didn't give up on me. That caught me off guard. I always thought I was the one who walked away. But maybe he was the one holding the door open the whole time, hoping I'd come back. The next week, he handed me an envelope. What's this? I asked. Read it. It was the new will. Melissa's name wasn't just removed. There was a note added. All possessions are to go to my son, Kyle, who showed me what forgiveness looks like in real time. I couldn't speak. He stood there, arms crossed, pretending to be casual. But his eyes said everything. That car wasn't the only thing we'd rebuilt. He had rewritten the story. And this time, I wasn't the villain. I was the son he never stopped hoping would come home. 6 months later, Melissa sent a letter. Not an email. Not a text. A real letter, stamped, sealed, addressed in handwriting I hadn't seen since the days when we used to leave each other notes on the fridge. I almost didn't open it. Almost threw it away unopened. But curiosity, or maybe closure, got the better of me. It was short. 3 paragraphs. She said she'd moved to Arizona. Got a job at a veterinary clinic. Said she was dating someone new. Someone who knew about her past and didn't run from it. She didn't ask for forgiveness. She didn't ask for anything. But the last line stuck with me. I hope, one day, you remember me as more than the mistake I became. I stared at those words for a long time. And for the first time since the divorce, I didn't feel angry. Not at her. Not at my dad. Not at myself. I folded the letter and tucked it in a box of old things. Not to keep it close. Just to put it somewhere it couldn't haunt me. Dad and I spent the summer restoring another car. A rusted 72 Chevy Nova some guy from church had let rot in a barn. It was harder than the Mustang. More rust. More dents. More history to erase. But that made it worth it. One night, while we were sanding down a fender, he said, "You gonna write her back?" I didn't answer right away. Then I said, "No. I already lived the chapter. I don't need a sequel." He grinned. Good answer. And that was that. We didn't speak her name again. Not because we were pretending it didn't happen, but because it didn't own us anymore. Sometimes, healing isn't loud. It's not cinematic. It's not something you even notice at first. It's just waking up one day, realizing the wound doesn't sting when you touch it, and realizing that you've turned the page. Not because you forgot, but because you remembered enough to move on. That's where I am now. I still drive the Mustang on Sundays. Still keep a toolbox in my trunk. Still stop by my dad's house for coffee and bad advice and grease-stained afternoons. We don't talk about the past much. We don't have to, because we survived it. And sometimes, that's the real story. Not the pain, but the fact that we walked through it and came out on the other side. There's one more thing I never told anyone. The day before Melissa moved into my dad's guest house, the same day she texted me from a block number, I saw her parked outside my apartment. She never came to the door, didn't call, just sat in that silver Corolla, engine running, eyes locked on my window like she was waiting for something she knew wouldn't come. I stood behind the blinds and watched her. A part of me wanted to go down. Ask her why. Ask her what she thought she'd find here. But I didn't. Because I already knew the answer. She wasn't looking for me. She was looking for a version of me that no longer existed. The one who forgave too fast. Who paid bills that weren't his. Who mistook guilt for love and silence for strength. That man was gone. She drove away after 15 minutes. And I let her. That's the part one remember the most. Not her face. Not the way she looked at my building like it still held something sacred. But the fact that I didn't open the door. I didn't run to meet her. I didn't try to fix it. That was the day I knew I'd finally taken my life back. People talk about heartbreak like it's a single moment. A shattering. But sometimes it's slower. It's realizing that love isn't always worth what it costs. That some doors stay closed for a reason. That survival isn't about avoiding pain, but refusing to repeat it. I don't know if Melissa ever found peace. I hope she did. But more than that, I hope she found truth. Because in the end, that's what saved me. Not revenge. Not closure. Just truth. Raw. Unforgiving. but honest. And sometimes, that's all a man needs to finally stop bleeding. It's been 2 years now. Since the divorce. Since the hospital. Since the Mustang's engine turned over like it remembered what it was built for. Sometimes I catch myself wondering how he got here. Not in a sad way. More like a man who survived a storm and now watches the rain with a quiet respect. Dad's older. Slower. But he still shows up every Saturday with some excuse to hang out. Broken radio. Sputtering chainsaw. Once, he brought over a toaster and said, "Thought you might enjoy the challenge." He's never said he loves me. Not in those words. But now he says things like, "You good, kid," and "proud of what you've built." And that's enough. I started dating again. Nothing serious yet. But there's someone. Her name's Riley. She doesn't ask for too much. She listens. She laughs with her whole face. And she never flinches when I talk about the wreckage. She once asked if I missed my ex-wife. I told her no. But I do miss who I thought I was back then. That version of me who believed love alone could hold broken things together. Now I know better. Love isn't glue. It's a choice. A commitment. Not to the fantasy, but to the truth. And truth doesn't bend. It either fits your life, or it doesn't. I've learned to stop bending. Dad and I took the Mustang to a local car show last month. Didn't win anything. Didn't need to. Some teenage kid came up, ran his hand reverently along the hood, and said, "She sounds like thunder." That was enough. When we drove home, Dad looked over and said, "Your mom would have loved this day." I nodded. "Yeah, I think she's part of it." We didn't say anything else. Didn't need to. Because we were finally living the life we spent years trying to patch back together. Not perfect. Not painless. But real. And in the end, that's all I ever wanted. Not revenge. Not validation. Just this. An open road. A rebuilt engine. And a story I survived long enough to tell on my own terms.
Adios.